Is this movie based on a Stephen King novel scary enough to keep the lights on? Let's talk about The Boogeyman. Hey everyone, this is David Stark from Watcher Pass. I'm here to talk about The Boogeyman, which comes to theaters on June 2nd, 2023. It is a horror movie based on a Stephen King book that has some phenomenal talent, a fantastic director. It kind of has everything going in for it. But my hot take is, look, I think you should probably rent it. I liked a lot about this. It had a ton of talent. Like I said, it's a fantastic director, a really great writing group that have done movies that I absolutely love. And it has a great use of light, sound, and some wonderful cinematography. But for me, the film kind of rose and fell with the creature, and the creature just didn't do it for me. So overall, this movie just wasn't, I think, as scary or intense as I was expecting it to be. So I think it's a rental. Look, it can go either way. It's not a bad movie. It just didn't do it for me. So I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the film, a few things I liked, a few things I didn't like, and then go into the ending. So as you can imagine, there will be spoilers in the ending section. If you don't want to know what happens in this movie, I would turn off when I get to the ending section. Before that, I'll keep it vague. I'll keep it spoiler-free, so you can keep watching, and then I'll let you know when I get to those spoilers. So in The Boogeyman, like I said, you've got a movie based on a Stephen King short story. It was adapted into a movie by Scott Beck, Bryan Woods, and Mark Heyman. Now, Scott Beck and Bryan Woods, they are great writers. They wrote A Quiet Place. They also wrote one of my favorite horror movies of all time, Haunt. I was very excited when I saw their names attached to this. And the film is directed by Rob Savage, who did Host, which is a phenomenal movie. It was a pandemic breath of fresh air. It was a completely Zoom-based horror movie. It had some great effects, and it just was a wonderful thing to come out during that time. So I was also very excited to see what he could do as well. The film is about a family that has some tragedy surrounding them, and then they get some tragedy of a supernatural variety when the youngest of the family starts to feel like there's this creature that is coming out and trying to get her at night. Do people believe her? Of course they don't. But as this continues going, it gets more and more sinister. So, things I liked about this movie. The first, I love the use of sound. It has some great use of sound, really good kind of like horror elements, like creaking houses, clicks, and things like that. Things that are happening just off the screen to keep you on edge. A lot of these scenes happen like at night with not a lot of light, and so you're really listening for things to happen. And then when you start hearing those weird sounds, it puts you on edge, and it really makes you kind of worried about what's going to happen next. The second thing I loved is the cinematography. Look, you can tell that this was directed by a veteran director, someone who like knows and loves horror. There were some really great camera angles, just a fantastic kind of understanding of what the audience is going to be looking at. It does the horror tropes, but it does it so well. You've got like mirrors that may be showing something you're looking for. You've got pan shots where like you'll see like a flash of something. You've got some shots where you like see the person's face and they'll be obscuring enough that you don't know what's going on. It's a really good use of the camera to raise the tension in this movie. The third thing I loved is the use of light. Look, this is a movie about a creature that comes out when it's dark or when you're sleeping. You need to have good light, and this film does it well. It has some really great scenes with like lights coming on and off, or with like lights that are flashing, and maybe something will show up just for a brief instant and then go away. And there's always that kind of like mix of something just off in the shadows that will keep you on edge. Like, this movie is all about tension. This movie is all about build up, especially the first 30 45 minutes of the movie. And the use of light is fantastic. There's one scene I really love where one of the characters has like flashing Christmas lights, and they're flashing like at pretty lax intervals, and so you get this like nice glow of light that gives you just a little bit of protection, and then it goes away. And I thought that was a really great scene, and the colors that it added were fantastic as well. And the fourth thing I liked, look, I love the Host references. Like I said, Rob Savage directed the Host. There were a few things here and there that referenced Host. There might have been more. I didn't catch a bunch, but the biggest kind of like most impactful one that you see is partway through, one of the characters is watching a video about how to do like a seance. And for that scene, they got Salem Baxter, the kind of person leading the seance in Host, to make a video for that part. And I love seeing her. I love kind of like having that throwback, having that callback to Host. That was fantastic. There's also like a ring light that was prominently in someone's room, and that person like didn't do any calls or didn't do any videos. So I think that was also a Host reference. I bet there were a couple more. I did not see the creepy clown. I was hoping to see the creepy clown like puppet thing that was in Host. I didn't see it. Maybe it's in there. Maybe I just missed it. But I do love that that Rob Savage put little things here and there for fans of Host. So that being said, lots of praise, lots of good things that this film did. Things I didn't love as much. The first, I didn't love the opening. That's usually tough because a horror movie should have a really great opening that really catches the audience attention. I didn't love it. The way that it started, you get kind of a hint of the creature, and as I'll talk about later, I didn't love the creature as much. I didn't love the way like it sounded and things like that. So that didn't excite me at the start. And then you just had this thing like happen off screen. You didn't really see much of what was going on. It felt a little, it was a decent enough horror opening, but I think maybe I was expecting more. It didn't strike me as much as I was hoping it would, and so that kind of like soured my overall feel for the movie itself. The second thing I didn't love, again, is related to the creature. The use of sound for the creature. The creature has this like weird, like guttural animal kind of sound, but then also will mix in like voices and things like that. It's a little confusing. It's an interesting idea that it can mimic things, but I don't think it's done well enough or consistently enough. And then when the creature is just the creature, it doesn't sound that impressive. It doesn't sound that scary. I wish it would have been maybe a little quieter. Like the growling really didn't kind of evoke the boogeyman feel to me. So, which is a shame because like I love all the other use of sound in this film. And the last thing I didn't love, I've said it a couple times, I did not love the creature. I didn't think it was that scary. I didn't think it was that great. I'm going to go into kind of more about the creature in the ending portion, but just know that like the creature itself was a little disappointing for me. That being said, The Boogeyman is in theaters on June 2nd, 2023. It is a decent film. I think you should ultimately rent it, wait for it to come to either streaming or home video or like Redbox, whatever you want to do. But if you do go see it in theaters, it can be a fun movie to see in theaters. You get that horror audience reaction, which is always fun. But my ultimate recommendation is to rent it. Now, I'm going to be going into the ending section right now. So if you don't want to know what happens in this film, I would turn it off because there will be spoilers here. So like I said, Boogeyman focuses on this one family. There is the dad, Will, who is a psychotherapist, psychologist, one of those two. And his two daughters, Sadie, who's a little bit older, I think she's 15, and Sawyer, who's younger. I don't know her exact age, but I put it at like 7 or 8. And they have just recently lost Will's wife, their mom, to a tragic accident. So the family is kind of reeling from that, dealing with this new paradigm where it's just Will and the two girls, something that I don't think any of them ever thought would happen. So they're trying to adjust to that. And then Will gets this visit from this strange character, this Lester Billings, who comes to talk to him about kind of his own personal trouble and like the trauma that he had, where his 3 kids all died, and no one believed the story that there was like a monster there. They all thought that Lester killed them, and he has been kind of like dealing with this trauma, but then also dealing with this supposed monster that he is apparently seeing. Will doesn't think much of it, thinks he's just crazy. But then Lester ends up hanging himself in Will's house. So they're already dealing with this one trauma. Now they have this new trauma of this person killing themselves in their house. But that's just the start of it, because after this incident, it seems like whatever Lester was worried about followed him to this house and kind of attached itself to this family. Because after Lester kills himself, the youngest of the family, Sawyer, starts to feel like there is some creature that is stalking her, that is like trying to get her when it's dark. And it manifests itself in like growls and like just fleeting images, things like that. Sawyer is very scared. Sadie doesn't believe her, but is at least understanding. Will is he's not checked out, but like he is an adult. He kind of like has a lot going on. He doesn't want to believe her either. And so as the haunting or as the like harassment gets more intense, Sadie starts to see the boogeyman as well. And so the boogeyman, like I said, it is not that impressive of a monster. I want it to be better. It is like this wolf looking golem thing. Like it kind of looks like some of the enemies in this video game called Metro 2033, where it's like a wasteland and you've got these humanoid-like things with strange, like creature-like faces. Like I said, it kind of reminds me of like a combination of like a wolf and golem if they had merged. That's what this creature was. Which I don't know. I always expected the boogeyman to be more like, I guess, the Babadook, like a top hat person that like stays in the shadows and can take over. I'm guessing that they were bound by the source material, right? Stephen King wrote this, so they probably were bound by Stephen King's description of the boogeyman, and that's why they had this like creature. But to me, it didn't really feel that scary. Like it didn't feel calculating. It felt like this like weird animal that would come out and stalk, and then it almost felt random how it would attack its prey. I wish it was something a little bit more, I don't know, cerebral, something a little bit more kind of like psychological. It would come out and like try to attack, but it would almost just be opportunistic. It would be like if it's dark, it would like try to sneak out, and then you catch a glimpse of it, and then occasionally you would like turn the lights on and it would run away, or you'd see it and it would like run away. It didn't really feel that calculated to me. So, and maybe I just wanted something else. Maybe I just didn't like this idea of this, wolf animal creature being the boogeyman. I feel like the boogeyman should be this sinister monster that comes at night, like wears a top hat, is always in the shadow. I don't know. It just, when I saw the monster, it didn't do it for me. And the way it kind of like sounded, it had this like combination of growls and like guttural sounds, but then mixed in with like people's voices. It was weird, but it didn't feel scary to me. It felt a little bit too jumbled. I think it needed to be a little bit more focused in the sounds as well. So Sawyer gets worse. Sadie sees a little bit, but she still doesn't believe her sister, until Sadie has some friends come over. She only has like one real friend. The other three kind of like know her, but they're not very nice to her. So they all come over, and she has this like party, which is fairly boring. Poor Sadie. She has these friends over, and they don't really seem that interested. But they want to see the like closet that Lester hung himself in. So they go up, and the closet is in like her mom's old studio. So it's already a little bit creepy because it's kind of like packed up. It's a little bit empty. And so they go into the closet, and they're like, "Oh, like where was it?" And she pointed out. And then the friends like go outside and like close the door and turn off the lights, which, maybe it's a prank, but if you've got a monster stalking you at night, turning off the lights in a closet is not good. So Sadie freaks out. She like starts banging on the door. The boogeyman is in there. She sees it and she like fights it off. They finally open the door, and Sadie's pissed because they locked her in there. She's scared. She smacks the kind of like most antagonistic of the friends, and that causes them all to leave. But what this experience does do is it shows Sadie that the boogeyman is real and that Sawyer was telling the truth when Sawyer was talking about the boogeyman. So now Sadie believes Sawyer, and they both kind of believe in the boogeyman. Will does not yet, although Will has had some hints of things that are happening. So one of the things that Sadie did when Sawyer first started talking about the boogeyman, and when Sadie was researching Lester buildings and things that happened, she went to go see like Lester's house. And while she was there, she did meet Lester's wife, who was like living in this house. It's like a dilapidated house. It is fallen disrepair. It's a great like ambiance because it's empty. There's candles all over to like keep the lights on. And while Sadie's in there, she meets Lester's wife. Or I guess I don't know. I guess it's death till apart. So I guess it's ex-wife because Lester's now dead. But that wife kind of seems unhinged, and at one point tells her to stop moving because the creature's behind her. And then that wife like takes aim and shoots a shotgun just over her shoulder. Not good for anyone involved. Sadie's having none of this, and she just runs out. So that was Sadie's first encounter with the Billings, and especially Lester's ex-wife, Rita. So she thought that Rita was crazy, but now that she's seen the boogeyman, maybe Rita wasn't that crazy. But that night, after the friends leave, after she says that she believes Sawyer, the boogeyman comes and attacks Sawyer. It's getting a little bit more bold. It's being a little bit more aggressive. I think because it's supposed to be hungry. Like Rita at one point mentioned that it must be hungry because it's coming out more frequently. So while the boogeyman is out, it like attacks Sawyer and throws her against this TV. Sawyer's hurt, but when Will and Sadie find Sawyer, they take her to the hospital. Sawyer's fine. Sawyer is going to survive. She's banged up, obviously, but she's going to survive. And while they're at the hospital waiting, Sadie gets a call from Rita saying like she knows how to finish this. If she wants to finish this whole thing tonight, come to the house. Sadie just heads over there, which is weird because the first time she had to drive. So maybe she was just lazy the first time. Now she just like walks or runs over to that house. When she gets there, she meets Rita, and Rita's like, okay, we can finish it now. And then like takes her into this room that's booby trapped. There's like shotgun shells all around. And Rita like tells her to be careful not to like trip into the booby traps. And then Rita like pushes her against the wall and handcuffs her or zip ties her to the wall using her as bait. And then she turns off the lights. Sadie's obviously worried about this, both because she's now in the dark and she's tied up with this crazy person, but also because now the boogeyman comes in, and you hear the boogeyman come, you see it like slowly stalk Sadie, and eventually it like lunges for her. But when it does that, it trips one of the wires, and that causes the shotgun shells to all shoot out, hit the boogeyman. The boogeyman's hit a couple times. It like falls down, slumping over, looks dead. Rita comes out with a shotgun, shoots it a couple more times. Seems that all's well that ends well. Seems like they finally got the boogeyman. They got the trap. They used the bait. It's great, right? Right? No, it's horror. Of course it's not right yet. Of course the boogeyman is not dead. When Rita turns to Sadie and like tells her, well, I guess it's over, the boogeyman jumps on Rita and like starts attacking her. Sadie, well, again, wants none of this, breaks the zip tie somehow and gets out. So Sadie runs home. When she gets there, all the lights are out, which to me, like, yeah, that makes sense. Of course the lights would be out, but why don't these people have flashlights? Like, carry a flashlight if you're worried about this monster that only comes out in the dark and is like stalking you in the darkness. Carry a flashlight. Heck, carry like a giant, I don't know, inflatable light that lights up everything. I don't know what you would do, but just do something. I did like I said, I like the light in this. Early on, Sadie had this cool like light ball that she would use that was like a globe of light that had some really great scenes where she would like roll the globe down the hallway to see like what was down there. I thought that was a very smart thing. Unfortunately, that light broke partway through. The boogeyman broke it, but I loved it while it was there. Apparently, after that light broke, they just didn't have any other lights in the house because when she gets there, there's no lights and she just like walks around in the dark, which is not a good idea when you're running from a creature that attacks you in the night. So when she gets there, she sees these lights flashing from the closet and she opens up and Sawyer's in there. Sawyer has these like Christmas lights wrapped around her. They like flash green, then flash red, then flash green. It is a really cool effect. I love this this aspect of it, and she's using those to kind of keep the boogeyman at bay. And Sawyer says that the boogeyman pulled their dad into the basement. And so Sadie's like, all right, we got to get this going. And she grabs a hockey stick, which I was like, yo, like the boogeyman just didn't get killed by multiple shotgun shots to its face. How is a hockey stick going to do anything? But I guess that's better than nothing. So Sadie has a hockey stick. They head down to the basement. When they get to the basement, they see the boogeyman. It has their dad. And then the boogeyman attacks Sadie and like jumps on top of her and opens its mouth, and then like some hands come out of its mouth, and then there's like a face in it, and that face like opens its mouth and starts to like suck the essence out of Sadie. I think like as it like opens its mouth, there's like tendrils of something come out of like Sadie's eyes, mouth, and nose and like start going to the boogeyman. So I think the boogeyman is feeding. I don't know why it like doesn't do this earlier. Like, what? Maybe it just does do this while it's sleeping. Like while they're sleeping, just sneak up, suck some of the essence out, and then go away. Why do they have to like make this big production of it? I don't know. But the boogeyman starts to, I assume, draw the essence out of Sadie. Now, because the boogeyman had the dad, but now it's attacking Sadie, the dad is free, and the dad like grabs a stick. It's a piece of that broken hockey stick. Obviously, the hockey stick didn't do much, and it stabs the boogeyman a couple times. Now, during the commotion, Sawyer, who had the Christmas lights on, like ran a little bit too fast, and the Christmas lights unplugged. Apparently, they were not battery operated; they were only plugged in. So now they don't have that light. They've angered the boogeyman because they stabbed it, but at least it stopped sucking out Sadie's essence. So they're all alive. They're all together. They huddle around together, and they pull out the lighter from the mom. The mom like had a lighter that she left, and Sadie grabbed it because she thought it was cool. It was a pretty cool lighter. They light that up. And they have a brief moment of peace as the light shines. And the lighter's old and it's running out of lighter fluid, so the light starts to fade. And when the light fades down, the boogeyman goes to the attack, but they relight the lighter and have a can of aerosol that Sadie was using to try to like keep things at bay, and light the aerosol with the lighter. Instant flamethrower, hits the boogeyman, doesn't seem to like it. It starts to back up. Sadie grabs both of these and starts using it to like keep the boogeyman at bay. But unfortunately, there's only so much aerosol they can use. As Sadie is shooting the aerosol, it runs out. So now the boogeyman is hurt and upset, but still alive. That's when Sawyer comes with this paint thinner that her mom had. You know, her mom was an artist, so she had paint thinner, and throws a bunch of the paint thinner on the boogeyman. Sadie lights the lighter, and I guess it has one last hurrah, throws on the boogeyman, up in flames. Boogeyman is very unhappy with this. It doesn't like this at all. And this is finally what kills the boogeyman. It like starts to melt it. I don't know. I feel like shotgun shells would do better, but maybe that was because those shotgun shells were in the night. Maybe it had to be a well-lit room with shotgun shells. Maybe that would have hurt it. But in any event, the fire does it. The fire kills the boogeyman. But the fire also, it's fire. It lights the house on fire. The family escapes. They get out of there. But as they're getting out, all the stuff from the, Sadie and Sawyer's mom, Will's wife, gets burned up. It's all in the basement. It's kind of like a cleansing of that aspect as well. As Sadie's leaving, she turns around, she sees her mom's dress like on a mannequin, and she just says goodbye. It's like her goodbye to her mom, and they leave. So the family now all goes to a psychologist after this incident, and the dad is finally ready to open up. He was not talking about his wife earlier. He was not talking about, what happened, and he finally like tells the girls, some of his feelings, some of like the remorse that he has about what happened. And so it's good. The family is healing. Everything is great. As they're leaving, Sadie hears the psychologist call her back in. Sadie goes inside, looks in. The office seems kind of empty, but the closet door has popped open a little bit. The boogeyman would always attack like coming out of like closed doors, dark hallways, things like that. And so Sadie gets closer, which I don't know why she would do that. If she saw the closet door open, didn't see the psychologist, just peace out, get out of there. Don't stay around. She gets close to the door. You think something's gonna happen, and then the psychologist walks in through like the main door. Is like, what's going on? And Sadie's just like, nothing. Closes the door and pieces out. And that's the boogeyman. I guess the family killed the boogeyman with fire. Fire cleansed everything. Hopefully they had good insurance on the house so they can rebuild it. Maybe they'll move somewhere else, but hopefully wherever they go, it'll be happy and it'll be well lit. So that's the boogeyman that comes to theaters on June 2nd, 2023. Like I said, I think it's a rental. It has some really good aspects of it, but overall, I think I was expecting more from this movie than we actually got. And the creature just didn't really do it for me. So ultimately, I think it's a rental, but if you see it in theaters, let me know what you think. Let me know if you liked it. Let me know if you didn't. Oh, and if you want to see kind of like a fun throwback, I interviewed Rob Savage right after Host came out. It is one of my favorite interviews of all time. It is in the channel. If you just search for like Watch or Pass Rob Savage, it'll come up. He was a fantastic interview. So if you want to see Rob before he became the like big horror director, go check it out. And thanks so much for watching. If you liked this review, please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps me out a lot. Make sure all my new content goes straight to you. Thank you.